The mahogany-paneled law office felt suffocating as Mr. Davidson, Grandpa's attorney for 40 years, prepared to read the will. My relatives perched on leather chairs like vultures, their designer outfits and jewelry competing for attention. "Let's start with the major assets," Aunt Susan announced, already mentally spending her share. Her children, my cousins Mark and Jennifer, nodded eagerly. I sat quietly in the corner, still grieving the only person who'd ever truly believed in me. While they'd all been fighting over Grandpa's attention with fancy careers and material success, I'd spent every Sunday afternoon with him, listening to his stories about building his medical empire from nothing. "Very well," Mr. Davidson adjusted his glasses. "The Peterson Medical Center shares will be divided as follows." The next hour was a parade of assets being distributed. Aunt Susan received the Hamptons house, Uncle Robert got the yacht, and my cousins split the luxury car collection. Each announcement was met with satisfied smirks and calculating glances at their phones to check values. "And finally," Mr. Davidson paused, "to my grandson Daniel, I leave the contents of Safety Deposit Box 247 at First National Bank." The room erupted in poorly concealed laughter. "An empty box?" Mark snickered. "Sounds about right for the family disappointment." Jennifer twirled her Cartier bracelet. "Well, Danny always was Grandpa's charity case. Remember when he chose to work at that free clinic instead of joining the hospital board?" Now, Aunt Susan's voice dripped false sympathy. "I'm sure there's something in that box. Maybe some old photos." She barely contained her smirk. Uncle Robert checked his Rolex. "Can we wrap this up? I have a board meeting at 3. Mr. Davidson handed me a small golden key. "The bank is across the street, Mr. Peterson. Would you like to check the contents now?" "Oh yes," Mark stood up. "Let's all go see Danny's grand inheritance. I could use a good laugh before my yacht shopping appointment." I clutched the key, remembering Grandpa's last words to me. "Sometimes the smallest key opens the biggest door, Danny. Remember everything I taught you about what really matters in medicine." The family paraded across the street to First National Bank, their Louis Vuitton shoes clicking on marble floors. The bank manager recognized Aunt Susan from charity galas and quickly ushered us to the vault. "Box 247, he announced, sliding the metal container onto a private table. "Moment of truth," Jennifer stage whispered. "Maybe it's filled with band-aids from his little clinic." I inserted the key, aware of the smartphones already raised to capture my disappointment. The lock clicked open. "Well," Aunt Susan leaned forward. "Show us this magnificent inheritance." Inside lay a single manila envelope, sealed with Grandpa's personal stamp. Mark immediately burst out laughing. "An envelope? Even better than we thought. Maybe it's a bus pass to get to his charity work." I carefully broke the seal, my fingers steady despite their mocking. Grandpa had taught me that patience and precision were the most valuable traits in both medicine and life. "Do tell us what words of wisdom the old man left you," Uncle Robert said, already turning to leave. "Some of us have real business to attend to." I began reading the contents silently, my eyes widening with each line. The laughter around me slowly faded as they noticed my expression. "What?" Jennifer demanded. "What could possibly be in that envelope?" I looked up at my smugly successful relatives, Grandpa's voice echoing in my memory. "The true value of medicine isn't in fancy hospital wings or charity galas. It's in who controls the power to heal." "Well," Aunt Susan snapped, "don't keep us in suspense about your precious envelope." I carefully laid out the documents on the table, watching their faces as understanding slowly dawned. The papers were ownership deeds, contracts, and shares, but not just any shares. Mr. Davidson, who had followed us to the bank, cleared his throat. "Perhaps I should explain the full implications of these documents." "These documents," Mr. Davidson began, his voice carrying the weight of 40 years of legal expertise, "represent controlling interest in Peterson Medical Holdings, the parent company of every major hospital, clinic, and medical research facility in the metropolitan area." Aunt Susan grabbed the edge of the table, her perfectly manicured nails digging into the wood. That's impossible. The board controls those shares." "No," I said quietly, laying out each document methodically. "Grandpa controlled those shares through a complex series of holding companies. Companies that, according to these papers, now belong to me." Mark's face had lost its smug expression. But the hospital board, Dad's position, was always at the pleasure of the majority shareholder, Mr. Davidson explained. Your grandfather maintained public ownership of only 10% of the company. The remaining controlling interest was held through these private entities. Jennifer's phone slipped from her trembling fingers. The Peterson Medical Center is just one part of it, I continued, finding my voice growing stronger. The research facilities, the pharmaceutical development division, the specialized clinics, the medical school. I spread out more papers. I own controlling interest in all of them. Uncle Robert lunged forward, grabbing one of the documents. This can't be legal. I'm on the board. We would have known. Actually, Mr. Davidson pulled out his tablet. If you check the latest SEC filings, you'll see the ownership transfer was processed at 9 a.m. this morning. It's all perfectly legal and binding. The bank manager, who had been watching with professional restraint, suddenly straightened. Sir, shall I arrange for the executive banking team to meet with you? That won't be necessary just yet, I replied, remembering Grandpa's lessons about maintaining composure in crucial moments. Aunt Susan had found her voice, though it quivered with barely contained rage. But why you? You work at that worthless free clinic. You've never shown any business acumen. I turned to her slowly. You mean the free clinic where I've been implementing an innovative healthcare delivery system that reduces costs by 60% while improving patient outcomes? The model that the National Health Institute just recommended for nationwide adoption. What? Mark whispered. Or perhaps you meant the worthless research I've been conducting there on accessible healthcare solutions. The same research that just received a $500 million grant from the Gates Foundation. Jennifer had sunk into a chair, her designer dress crumpling. But you never came to the board meetings. Because I was busy learning medicine from the ground up, just like Grandpa did. While you were all fighting over hospital wings named after yourselves, I was learning every aspect of healthcare delivery, from janitor to surgeon. Mr. Davidson nodded approvingly. Your grandfather was quite impressed with your holistic approach to understanding the healthcare system. He said you reminded him of himself at your age. But the company value. Uncle Robert was frantically calculating on his phone. These holdings, they're worth $12.4 billion as of this morning's market evaluation, I supplied. Though with the implementation of my new healthcare delivery system and the pending patents from my research, analysts project that to double within 18 months. The bank manager cleared his throat. Sir, there are also several sealed envelopes in the box containing what appear to be resignation letters. Ah yes, I picked them up. Pre-signed resignations from every board member, to be activated at my discretion. Grandpa was nothing if not thorough. Aunt Susan swayed slightly. The annual charity gala next week. I'm the chairwoman. Was the chairwoman, I corrected gently. I'll be announcing a new direction for our charitable initiatives. One that focuses on actually helping people rather than social prestige. Mark's face had turned an alarming shade of pale. The hospital expansion project I'm managing is cancelled, I confirmed. Those resources will be redirected to upgrading our community clinics and research facilities. Jennifer made a small choking sound. But, what about the family legacy? I gathered the documents carefully, remembering Grandpa's words about responsibility and purpose. The legacy will be stronger than ever. It's just returning to its original mission, healing people, not enriching shareholders. The bank manager stepped forward. Sir, your grandfather left one more item. He produced a small box from inside the safety deposit box. Inside was Grandpa's old stethoscope, the one he'd used when he opened his first clinic 50 years ago. Attached was a note. Remember, Danny, hear the heart before you count the money. I looked up at my shell-shocked relatives, their world of privilege and pretense crumbling around them. Mr. Davidson, I believe we have some paperwork to complete. And then I have patients to see at the clinic. 3 months after the will reading, I sat in what used to be Uncle Robert's office, now transformed into a modern command center for our healthcare revolution. Gone were the ostentatious oil paintings and mahogany furniture, replaced by interactive medical displays and real-time patient care metrics. A gentle knock interrupted my review of the latest community health initiative. Dr. Peterson? Your family is here for the quarterly shareholders meeting. Thank you, Sarah. Let's not keep them waiting. They filed into the conference room like chastened children, a far cry from their previous imperious attitudes. Aunt Susan's designer suit seemed somehow muted, Mark's confidence had deflated to near invisibility, and Jennifer's social media influence had taken a dramatic turn from luxury hospital heiress to unfollowed. Before we begin, I announced, activating the holographic display, let's review our first quarter under new management. The numbers floated in the air. Patient satisfaction up 78%. Treatment costs down 45%. Research grant funding increased by $890 million. Staff turnover reduced by 82%. As you can see, I continued, our shift from profit-centered to patient-centered care has yielded remarkable results. Uncle Robert shifted uncomfortably. But the profit margins have increased by 32%. I completed his sentence. Turns out, treating patients effectively and efficiently is actually good for business. Who you? Aunt Susan cleared her throat. About the annual gala. Has been replaced by community health fairs, I said firmly. The $2 million we used to spend on caviar and champagne now funds preventive care programs in underserved neighborhoods. But the social connections, Jennifer protested weakly, are stronger than ever. The Gates Foundation, WHO, and CDC have all partnered with us for global health initiatives. Last week, I had dinner with Dr. Fauci to discuss our pandemic preparedness protocols. Mark flipped frantically through the quarterly report. The new board members are actually medical professionals, I nodded. Shocking concept, I know. Dr. Chin from Johns Hopkins, Dr. Patel from Mayo Clinic, and Dr. Rodriguez from Stanford. People who understand both medicine and management. The holographic display shifted to show our new organizational structure. The hierarchy was flatter, more efficient, with direct lines of communication between medical staff and administration. You'll notice, I continued, that our administrative costs have dropped by 60% since removing redundant executive positions. I paused meaningfully, including those previously held by family members. Aunt Susan dabbed at her eyes with a significantly less expensive handkerchief than she used to carry. The country club membership has been terminated. We've converted the hospital's private golf course into a rehabilitation center and community garden. The patients seem to prefer growing their own food to watching executives play golf. But the hospital's reputation, Uncle Robert began, has never been better, I interrupted, pulling up the latest headlines. Peterson Medical Revolution. How Patient-First Care Changed Healthcare. Free clinic model goes global. Who adopts Peterson protocol? Healthcare hero. Young CEO transforms billion-dollar empire into public health pioneer. 3 months after the will reading, I sat in Uncle Robert's old office. It was now a modern center for healthcare reform. The fancy paintings and furniture were gone. Only Grandpa's old stethoscope hung on the wall. Dr. Peterson, your family is here for the shareholder meeting, said my assistant Sarah. Tell the WHO director I'll call back in an hour. Let's start with family. They walked in like kids in trouble. Aunt Susan's suit was less flashy. Mark looked nervous. Jennifer's social media fame had faded. Uncle Robert sat quietly among the minority shareholders. Let's review the first quarter, I said, showing data in holograms. Patient satisfaction up 78%. Treatment costs down 45%. Research funding up $890 million. Staff turnover down 82%. Emergency response times improved 40%. Community health better everywhere. Our patient-focused care works, I said. It's now a global model. Uncle Robert frowned. What about profits? They've grown 32%, I said. Good care is good business. Our stock doubled. Mark muttered. You cut premium services. No, I said. Premium care is for everyone now. The executive floor? Pediatric care. Private suites. Family rooms. Aunt Susan asked about the gala. It's gone. We fund health fairs now. Last fair helped 5,000 people and found 200 early illnesses. Jennifer complained about social connections. They're stronger than ever, I said. We work with Gates Foundation, WHO, CDC. I met with Dr. Fauci and will meet the UN Secretary General soon. Mark looked at the board changes. They're medical experts now, I said. Doctors and health advocates run the company, not executives. Admin costs dropped 60%. Family exec roles are gone. Aunt Susan cried over the country club membership. It's ended. The golf course is now a rehab and garden. Uncle Robert worried about reputation. It's better than ever, I said, showing headlines praising our work. Sarah gave more news. You're nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Time wants you for Person of the Year. Jennifer dropped her purse, stunned. Nobel Prize. For making healthcare accessible, I said. Our local clinics cut ER visits by 60%. Preventive care works. Mark asked about pharma. We shifted to cures, not just maintenance drugs. We've made breakthroughs in rare diseases. Uncle Robert asked about shareholders. They're happy. Our stock beats all others. Aunt Susan whispered about family legacy. It's exactly what Grandpa wanted, I said, touching his stethoscope. He built this to heal people, not fund luxury. The room fell silent. I stood up. Excuse me, I have patients to see. Sarah will show you the new pediatric wing built with saved bonus money. As they left, Jennifer paused by patient thank you letters. Danny, she said softly, using my childhood name, Grandpa would be proud. I smiled. He would. But not of me, of what the hospital became. Sunlight filled the hospital. Patients walked in the healing garden. Doctors worked efficiently without extra bureaucracy. Researchers made new treatments without profit pressure. People were healed because of need, not wealth. Grandpa's stethoscope caught the light. A reminder that small keys can open big doors, especially ones leading to real change.